Hello, my name is Erick Wright. You may know me as the guy from YouTube that expresses his political views while sitting on the gym, but I'm much more than that. A Southerner from a working class family, a college graduate and a hard-working businessman. Telling Alabamians the truth should be the government's #1 job. And the truth is, Washington needs fresh ideas and new solutions to get things done. Because liberty without equality is extortion, but equality without liberty is slavery.
All right, y'all, thank you for tuning in to Dixieland, the Proletariat. We're going to talk about Southern working class history and current events from a leftist perspective. Make sure to like us on social media at Dixieland, the Proletariat, or Dixie Prole. And if you want to give your wages to a bunch of rednecks, then subscribe to our Patreon page at patreon.com/DixieProle. We got a lot of cool stuff to give you, including CDs, stickers, and the cookbook. The breakfast part is done and should be up on Patreon soon. This podcast is brought to you by Newport 100 in a Box, Camel Silver's Black Coffee, and Vaping and Farming. Shout out to our Patreon subscribers, She Wizzle and Maddie. Our monthly Patreon surplus goes to groups that are run by and help marginalized folks directly. As always, I'm Nelson with Senior Telecommunications Director Tommy, Comrade Kate, Brother William, former pig farmer Tyler, and our guest tonight is the one and only Erick Wright. How's everybody doing? Y'all can unmute.
We're all doing real muted, apparently. Emotionally fucking drained.
Hell yeah.
Yep.
I feel you. Trump's speech was a load of bullshit. Eric just came. I'm gonna let Eric introduce himself, but he also just came from downtown Montgomery. So before we get into farming, Eric, can you talk about what you saw downtown Montgomery just now?
What I seen so far was it was a peaceful protest. Of course, they were protesting about police brutality, but a lot of people out there was pushing the issue about Aaron Cody Smith not being in prison right now, and that was a big concern. The police kind of stayed out pretty much out of the way and gave them a little space to walk the block, and it felt kind of orchestrated, but there was a few agitators that was in the group, and a few people that were armed as well. And our main thing was trying to keep the young guys from doing something stupid or being arrested or things like that. So that was our main reason for being down there, to be a deterrent from those guys, to pull them to the side, like, okay, I know you're upset. Let's see if we can do something else with this energy. And that was our main reason for being out there. And it actually went pretty well with a few incidents. But other than that, it seemed like it was helpful.
Now, you said Officer Smith. For those who don't know, that was the officer that shot and killed Greg Gunn not too long ago, correct?
Yes. The officer that killed Greg Gunn, that was convicted of it. And he's not currently in prison right now because he says that he fears for his life. But this is Montgomery, and we have almost 100% conviction rate. And anyone else, from violent crimes to small petty crimes, they have to serve their sentence in full. Like, why should this person be any different?
Exactly. He should be in fucking prison because he's a murderer. That's exactly what happened. I can't believe that. I know it was a huge debacle. They went through like 3 different judges before they finally could get one. And he was convicted. He was given like a bullshit sentence though, right? And he's out and he's afraid for his life, like you said. But it's a total travesty of justice. It seems like it's not going the way that it should go.
So you said that you had gone out tonight, like with the intent to help de-escalate, if people were getting too rowdy or getting too destructive. Like, do you have any like advice on tactics that people could use when they're out, like in their respective cities, if they're encountering protesters that are behaving in that?
Well, I can't really speak about other cities, but here, especially in the Black community, young Black males look up to normally the OG in the neighborhood, or the oldest guy in the neighborhood that at least offers some kind of help or information or knowledge. And those guys look to us for that. So we got about 20 guys together, And we went down there where we were armed just in case, because it is the police. but but we were down there just to make sure that the younger kids didn't get in trouble and didn't get anything on their record, because a lot of that shit is like slavery. That is slavery. And the more times you end up getting locked up, the more times you have running ins with the police, the less likely you are to be successful out here. And it's hard. So that was our main reason. We didn't want to see kids like destroy their lives just for a brief moment of being upset. It's a lot of shit to be upset about right now.
That's fucking awesome. Thank you for that.
Hell yeah. Real quick, Eric, who tore down, okay, so obviously not who, because we don't want to incriminate anybody, but the statue of Robert E. Lee in front of Robert E. Lee High School is gone, but the pictures, there's no one there but a bunch of cops. So how did that go down? And do you know anything? Like, it's just, what happened?
Yeah, actually, this seems like a coordinated thing with the mayors. The mayor of Birmingham did the same thing with a few Confederate statues too in Birmingham today. And the same thing, Steve Reed, they took it down before it was torn down. That's basically what happened. They should retire those shits, put them in a fucking museum or something, or throw them in the ocean one.
Definitely throw them in the ocean.
Yeah, is that the plan to
Throw 'em
put
in the
them
ocean.
back, or are they permanently gone?
I don't know if they're waiting on things to kind of simmer down, but 9 times out of 10, if they put it back up, somebody's gonna tear it down. And
Yeah, I don't think it's coming back.
That's the word on the street now. And the meeting we had today, it was an intervention because there were young guys that actually looted places last night. There was 4 pawn shops that was totally looted, cash advance places, and they were thinking about doing it again tonight. And that's where we came in to intervene, and at least we can get them to the peaceful protest instead of going around town tearing up shit.
Would you say that being able to, as community members, go in and help guide these younger folks away from those kinds of activities, would you say that underscores that like communities are better able to police themselves than police forces?
No, I agree with that. I agree with it, because the younger black kids don't respect the police. And they see them as some almost like an army occupation. So they have discontent from just by seeing them. They show up and they get mad immediately because they don't know where to place that anger at. And like I said, they look up to people that's in their neighborhoods that they see that does support them. And I'm not from Montgomery, but I've been here so long. I guess I'm designated one of those people. I was looking at my wife and like, I gotta go downtown. I just want to make sure don't nobody get hurt.
Eric, I wanted you brought up a good point there. I know obviously you don't speak for the entire black community, just like Tommy doesn't speak. Everyone's an individual, et cetera. But I've noticed, like, it's, for instance, the sheriff in Lowndes County was basically assassinated by this white kid. Came up and shot him basically point blank in a gas station. And you saw like Lowndes County is predominantly black, and they had a black sheriff, and he was elected. And then we also have a black police chief, black mayor. So like, even if the leadership of these institutions are black, and in the case of the sheriff, democratically elected, like I heard a lot of people like just outraged that the sheriff was gunned down basically in a cold act of violence. Like, is there anything that does race in that aspect play a part when the officer and the leadership of these institutions are black?
Well, we're talking about Lowndes County, and it's small as shit, right? Everybody knows everybody, and Big John, which was the sheriff, he's been the sheriff for over 30 years. So he's a staple there. He's seen kids grow up and move out, move on, and come back. So it hurts kind of different with a police officer or someone that's actually been a part of the neighborhood, that's from the city, and that's like committed their life to it. So that's strong in another way. Although we don't like the process that the police go through, but having someone that was one of you, that actually came up in the ranks and became sheriff and was sheriff for years, that hits a lot different. And I think a lot of people were angry. Well, I know a lot of people were angry about that.
And it seems like Sheriff Cunningham of Montgomery County is the first Black sheriff of Montgomery County. He seems to be also very popular, a lot of deep roots in the community, and he was overwhelmingly democratically elected to sheriff. And I know he helps out with like local YMCAs and Boys and Girls Clubs and community centers like that, referees basketball, and he's just like a pillar in the community. Just wanted to get a perspective because I heard a lot of different things about Big John. People were angry about it. So I just wanted to get someone whose fingers are on the pulse, like basically what's going on when it comes to that. But that's a good insight. Thank you so much. Okay, I guess we're going to turn our attention now to the main topic of the show, because I know everyone's been talking about the protests. Everyone's been talking about what's going on. So try to turn something positive that we can all agree on and help out in the community, and something that definitely needs to be done, especially in the South where there's a lot of food deserts. You own and operate a community farm. I think I've seen your property. It's amazing. I think what you're doing is great, but really, if you could just go in, like, tell us about the farm, how you became to become a farmer, like what do y'all do, like how can people help? Just basically give us a rundown of what it's like to be a Black farmer in the Black Belt, a historically like agricultural society, basically.
Well, I don't know if anybody decides really to be a farmer, or being a farmer really chooses you, because well, Nelson, you know me, I'm not the guy to play in dirt, But looking at some of the issue that goes on in our community, number one, most of our communities are in food deserts. Most of the grocery stores are 1 to 5 miles away from the community that people live in, and then they don't have transportation to even fucking get there. So that in a sense shows that we have a big hole in our community. And then looking at type of things like diabetes and other health issues that plague our community, what can we do? What can we do to help? And that led us to farming. And me and my wife, we found the property, and we didn't go outside of Montgomery. We wanted to stay technically close to the hood. I feel comfortable with my people. So we moved and we started this process, but it's been a learning process the entire time. And the sad thing is, this is Alabama. You would think you would have a lot of support for beginning and upstart farming, but you don't. A lot of it is really confusing, and it doesn't matter if you graduated college or have 20 degrees. A lot of this shit is difficult. The information is difficult, and I don't think new farmers have that support like a more seasoned farmer would have with an alpha, or these different farmer federations. Like, we don't have that. We're coming from a background where our country denied us the loans to expand our farms. We're coming from a country that made sure that everybody else got land, everybody else learned how to operate their machinery. Like, this is where we're coming from, and it's like we're starting from a negative place, and we're pushing to zero now because it's been that difficult. But it's so rewarding once you start to put things in the ground and see them grow. And then we do things. We do packages with people in the neighborhood, the elderly. We'll have a package with eggs, maybe some mint and different herbs, just in case they drink teas, stuff like that, so they don't have to go to a grocery store or get somebody to give them a ride somewhere or catch the bus. Those simple things. And I think there's a big movement in Black communities for urban gardens and community gardens, because we want to pool those resources together. I may not have a lot of money, but I have a little land. Let's see what we can grow if we all can pool in together. And that's pretty much the approach we've been taking. We have people in the neighborhood that come and help us in the garden. We have people that even we have goats too. So when it's time to slaughter a goat or whatever, like, we actually have people to come and learn, because there's not a lot of people in Montgomery that know shit about farming. They definitely don't know anything about slaughtering livestock, so it's all new to them. and But once they get that experience, they want more of it. They want to be involved more. I've had neighbors that want to purchase animals just to bring here, and when they do, we'll wash them, we'll feed them, and if we sell them, resell them, or slaughter them, whatever we do, we're doing it together as a community. And once you have that, you can save money, and that's basically what we've been doing, pulling our resources together, trying to be more self-sufficient as we possibly can. And that's what it's really been all about. The farming is just self-sufficiency.
How do you structure and like organize people coming in from the community? Like, is it done by when people are available, or like what tasks that they're most equipped to do? Like how do you organize like actually bringing them in for the work?
Well, first we try to look at people's talents and what they're comfortable with doing. If someone is a super beginner, they never had any experience at all, maybe some small tasks just to kind of get them familiar with certain things would be good. And for people that grew up on a farm or remember their grandfather having a farm, and they remember working and doing certain things, or if they have a trade, if they do concrete, if they do pool ponds, if they do ponds, fishing, things like that. We just try to find their talents and place them where we can. And that's been the best thing that we've been able to do, because we try giving people like certain instructions and they're like, oh shit, I've never used a rake before. Like, it is crazy. You would think people would have some sort of working knowledge on how to take care of themselves or survive if the world went to shit, but they don't. So we just put them where they're good at it and what they're comfortable with.
Speaking of
How
the
much
world
land
going to
and what are you growing?
Right now we have zucchini, we have tomatoes, we have carrots, watermelon, corn. I'm growing some wheat and some barley because I like to home brew and make beer. So yeah, but it's a range of things, mostly fruit and vegetables, and we do a lot of herbs, because me and my wife, we live a more holistic life, so we don't take a lot of over-the-counter medicines. So we use different herbal blends to kind of help us out there.
What kind of beer and how can I get some?
Really, I've been working on some recipes. I got a stout recipe that's pretty good. I got a kind of like a all-in IPA with about 4 different hop varieties.
Yeah, that's what I want right there.
And of course, all wheat beer. I love wheat beer. I'm addicted to wheat beer.
Would y'all
I
be
love wheat
interested
beer.
in having any pigs out there?
Who?
Any pigs?
He means actual pigs, not the.
Yeah, not the police.
No. Like I said, me and my wife, are very holistic, and pork is nothing we want anything near us.
You know, for taking that swine, brother.
No, I don't blame you.
We gotta say no to the pork.
Oh, it's terrible. And
Yeah, hold on.
They're shitty to raise.
Hold on, I gotta tell you the story. I got Eric just reminded me of the story. Eric knows what I'm gonna tell. So Eric ran for Congress back in 2014, right? And I was on the campaign trail with him. I was on the team, and we were down in Andalusia, and it was at an ADC conference, right? And it's basically a massive church service, and that's where the guy stood
Hallelujah.
up and said, "Yeah, that's where it was a culture shock to me." And Eric and Steve and other people and Nick are looking at or laughing at me because I'm like, what the fuck is happening? But and that's where the guy stood up and said about the corner positions, like, Jesus Christ, guys, my campaign. But this old black lady comes up to Eric and asks him what he's running for, and Eric's talking to him, and she's like, would you like a plate with some pork and some other stuff? And Eric's like, oh, no, ma'am, I'm sorry, I don't eat pork. And she looked at him like he had two heads, and I looked at Eric, and I was like, you ever say that shit again?
Just take the fucking plate, Eric.
I'm gonna funnel this pulled pork down your throat with a gallon of sweet tea. And he's like, I don't drink sweet tea either. And she like walked away. She straight up just like turned around and walked away. I'm like, God damn it, Eric.
And so everywhere we went, I wouldn't eat anything. Just water and maybe a salad. I ain't eating none of that other shit. It was like, man, just eat the fucking pork, drink the sweet tea. I'm like, man, I don't drink sweet tea. It's bad for you.
You lost a vote. You lost a vote because you wouldn't take 2 fucking sips of a sweet tea.
That was literally it. I was like, just take a bite of the pulled pork and just a sip of sweet tea, and she'd be like, oh, thank you, and like walk away. But no.
How can you trust a man?
I just couldn't do it.
My congressman's Jewish, and I used to work for him, and he'll take the damn bite of the barbecue sandwich. And he's still in office. I'm just saying.
Eric, that was it.
Sacrifice for your constituents.
And I also admire the understanding the relationship between us and our food, and how it's so easy to be alienated, when the only meat or vegetables that you buy are in the grocery store. Understanding the relationship between what we consume and the labor that goes into it is a very important thing, I think. And I'm glad that you're getting the community involved in that, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'd like to come out there and work. I'd like to volunteer and do some stuff because I don't get to do much farming anymore now that I've gotten out of it.
I actually miss driving a tractor, so I'm totally down to go.
Well, you're always welcome because I definitely need the hands.
And now with the pandemic and everything, all our hours have been cut. So I'm like, hell, I got nothing to do. So hell yeah, I'm down to come out. That'd be dope.
When I lived off Norman Bridge Road, we grew okra, but you can grow that shit in sand.
Yeah, okra's such a good versatile vegetable.
So speaking of the speaking of the pandemic and being more connected to our food sources, like before the revolution started and we were just terrified of leaving our houses, like it seemed, at least through social media, that a lot of people, out of fear that, groceries are going to run out of the things that they need, that like we've definitely seen, large commercial farms destroying their product. And so people are worried about like actually being able to source things, and you see people starting to start gardens more. For people who want to start growing their own food and want to become more connected to what they're putting in their bodies, what are best first steps, best like resources that they can go to start learning? Like how should they jump in and get their feet?
Well, I would say number one, Google and YouTube is your fucking best friend. Like you can learn anything from that shit. But I would start with something simple like a raised garden bed, maybe something like a 4x6 or maybe a 4x4 box, and they're very simple to make. And all you need is a few pieces of wood and a couple screws, and put it together, fill it with dirt, and there you go. You don't have to worry about any weeds or anything like that. But I would start off with simple vegetables, things that you actually use, things that you actually eat. Because a lot of people get into farming, they have this huge array of plants that they want to try to grow, but what do you actually eat? If you like zucchini, you should be growing zucchini. You like squash, you should be growing squash. You know, like start with things that you actually cook with that's close to your family, because a lot of foods are family oriented, you know, and you have certain connections with it. But I would start from those that you like the best, because it's the most rewarding once it grows, because it's something that you're really gonna like. Like, don't fucking grow tomatoes if you don't like tomatoes.
Tomatoes, in my experience, have always been real finicky too, and squash prone to bugs and stuff. Do you use any kind of like natural bug deterrent, or what do you do for pest prevention?
Well, there's a few things that we normally do. Pepper helps. Also, vinegar helps. We try to do a lot of things that's natural. We don't put a lot of different things in our soil to kind of change the makeup of it to help it grow faster. So all our fertilizer is completely organic. So we try to stick with that to make sure that we're not adding anything new. And when you are growing or attempting to grow anything, you want to know what happened to the soil before you. If you're going to be putting stuff in the ground, you want to know what's around. You want to know if anything was planted before, like like peanuts. If someone grew peanuts 2 years ago and now you want to grow okra, you don't want to do that, because the chemicals that's in the peanuts gets in the soil and it will get in the okra. Like, those are things that you have to kind of research and kind of find out. But it's all a learning experience.
Eric, you touched on something I wanted to ask. Everyone, like the Black Belt region is obviously very rich in fertile soil, but obviously with modern farming and other pollutants and contaminants, the soil could be contaminated in some spots. As a community farm, is it hard to get the resources to like test the soil, to send it off for testing, to get someone to come do it? Do you have a problem? I know there's a ditch that runs behind your property, and I know you've had problems with erosion. Like how do y'all handle things like that, like bigger tasks that could possibly damage the farm?
They do have some resources with they have some resources, but it's not a lot. And sometimes you feel isolated being a smaller farm. But there are resources that you can apply for with the USDA. That's if you know that they exist, you know, and if you know how to go about the application process and blah, blah, blah. But that goes back into beginning farmers having that support from older farmers to kind of guide them on best processes or best processes. You definitely need that. So there's a mentoring gap, especially in the Black Belt, because there's a growing population that's rapidly aging, and a younger population that is attempting to get into farming, but really don't have any bearings and don't know which way to go. And we don't have that mentoring process to make that information readily available. Is something you really have to search for. So when you run into those problems like soil erosion, and the soil erosion is big, you have 40-foot trees that fucking just fall down because it's too much water under the ground, you know, and that's something that the homeowner or the farmer will have to deal with himself, that his trees are falling down, or you have a pond that's continuously to expand. But those are things that you can call them about and you can apply for. The process is normally kind of long, you know, like most people just pay for it and get it done. But if you go through the process, you're probably looking at 6 months to a year before you receive funding.
Damn, that long? That's crazy.
If not longer.
Does your knowledge I know your primary occupation is an insurance adjuster, does that like help trying to navigate like crop insurance and things like that, or is that even an option when it comes to community farming like you're doing?
And Nelson, I got a promotion. I'm an insurance regulator now. I work for the state now.
Oh yeah, I forgot. You're part of the system now, man.
Right.
Part of the system, man.
The invisible hand.
I'm
But
curious
yeah,
about the.
it helps a lot though. Basically just with the risk management portion, because different things from growing to processing to shipping, and just making sure everything is safe, making sure the food is okay, making sure everything is tested okay, nobody can get sick. Those are larger things. Just weighing out loss exposures, or what you can be exposed to by having a farm, or where you can be sued at. That definitely helps. It helped a lot with structuring the farm, and it also helped a lot dealing with the USDA and the process that they have. It's a similar process from the Department of Insurance, and also that they're kind of helpful. So when I talk to them, I can kind of speak their language to a certain point.
Will, you had a question?
I was curious about the potential grants out there. There are for small commercial businesses, especially minority businesses in Alabama, or also nonprofit. If there are grants out there for community farming.
Yes, there are actually a lot of grants. Just to think of a couple. There's a REAP grant. It's REAP, REAP, and it is for energy. It is for improving energy and the transfer of energy to rural areas, and also, well, we would be considered a rural area even though it's Montgomery, but it's for expanding broadband, and also doing something for energy independence. So that can be wind, solar, because that's farming too, and there's a lot of money set aside for that. And all you have to do is apply for it. And that's basically just upgrading your current power source or power structure, or converting it to solar. The only bad thing about that they give you the money, you can build it, but in this state, there's still no net metering. So it's like purposeless. But there are a lot of different grants out there that are for community gardens, and more so letting people know that there are fresh foods, because that is a big thing with the USDA. They want to promote fresh food. So anyone that wants, you can have a capacity building where people can come and bring their fruits, vegetables, things like that. You can also, and they also accept SNAP benefits and everything, but the USDA will pay to build that building specifically for that. But those grants are currently out there.
So if somebody is like willing to go through like trying to seek out that type of grant money, and like really like diving headfirst into building community farm or community garden where they live, what type of properties and spaces should they be looking for? Is it size? Is it location? Like what are the hits? Like what are the things that really make an ideal spot?
Well, an ideal spot would be in a location where people are currently deprived of those resources. So anywhere you find a food desert, it would be a perfect spot. And to go ahead and get it started, you only need a few things. The first thing you need is a farm number. Once you get a farm number, the second thing you need is your number to actually apply for the grants. It's your DUNS number. Once you get those, and both of them are free. You only have to go to your county USDA office, but the applications are free, and they basically want to know if you own the property, or if you don't own the property, you have the okay to do farming there. So if you have a letter saying that the landowner said that it was okay for me to farm on this parcel, you can. But they'll give you the right to apply for every grant as long as you have that information. It's kind of simple as that.
So you made that sound like super easy. What's stopping people? Like what perceived obstacles do people have that they should just be getting over to start this kind of thing?
Hesitation. Maybe they're scared, or maybe they just don't know. I think it's more of the information that's not readily available. I think if it was more readily available, more people would do it, but they don't know. And in my community, a lot of people see me and they look to me like I've done some grand shit, but I didn't. Like, it was just a few steps, and I can show you how to do it if that's what you want to do, but they never thought it was that easy. They thought it was more to it than what it is, but it's just time. Some of it is aggravating, it's shit, but it's just time and patience.
Eric, you ever thought about putting together like a Black Farmer's Handbook to Community Garden, or like doing a YouTube channel or something like that to like really spread the message? It seems like you've gathered all this knowledge, and it's good that like you come on for the episode and like you could teach people hands on. But in the rise of social media, have you ever thought about putting together like a pamphlet or to put online, or YouTube videos or anything like that?
Thought about it, but you know me, man, I'm very private. No, but I have thought about it, and I actually think like the Black community needs its own farmer's almanac almost. You know, uh, everybody heard of the farmer's almanac before, right? And it has a whole bunch of cool stuff in it: when to plant, when to shear your animals, the star constellations, the whole nine. It has a bunch of stuff in there. I think if it was put in the language to where our community would read it and take heed of it, I think that'll help. But I thought about that before. But as far as YouTube and everything else, no, I'm hands on. You want to work? Come on.
Hell
I
yeah.
just think if people understood that you could do this for under $100, like you said, buying the wood, the potting soil, the seeds, and just investing a little bit of time, that you could get something simple started for really cheap. And I know for a lot of people, you hear it talked about as a pipe dream, like, oh, I want to start my own farm or have this land or be self-sufficient. And it's just right there. It's just, I think like you said, the hesitation, the initial like investment, and it's cheaper than I think a lot of people would realize.
Yes, it's a lot cheaper. It's a lot cheaper. My boys in the morning time when we cook breakfast, we cook about 9 to 10 eggs. Every time we make breakfast. I haven't paid for an egg in maybe 3 years. So that's money I can see that I saved.
I mean, it's always good to save money when it comes to not having to go to the grocery store all the fucking time. Eric, you seem to be. Yeah, we're hearing your notification on your phone. It's like it's stuff. Just to divert real quick. Is shit going down? Like, is stuff going down more in Montgomery?
Yeah, it is.
Do you care to comment on that? Like, what's been going on?
I cannot.
Good deal.
Right, it's probably best nobody knows.
They'll find out in the morning when the news hits.
Yeah, I just got a pretty wild update, but yeah, I'm not gonna speak on it. But
I know there were a lot of wild rumors in the white community or whatever about. My grandmother called me up today asking if people were going to pillage her neighborhood, and I felt so bad. Her neighbor got her riled up, and it's circulating out there.
Did she actually specifically use the word pillage?
No.
Damn. I'm oh yeah. Yes, Grandma, the Vikings are coming. Oh, I guess they kind of are with like the white supremacists showing up. That's a tangent. Bye.
Yeah, my dad called me at the gym, and he was like, "You need to watch out there in Montgomery. Those Antifa are being bussed in." And I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, Antifa. That's the homies, Dad. It's all good." He didn't like that.
I told people that I was on the George Soros sponsored Antifa bus heading into Montgomery. We were watching Roots and fornicating and smoking dope. And George Soros bought us all brand new Molotov cocktails and masks, so we were all ready. And I posted a GIF of Miss Frizzle from the Magic School Bus. She was driving it, y'all. It's going down. But yeah, it goes back to what I talked to about it some other episodes ago. That it's like my biggest. I try to tell people it's like nothing bad is gonna fucking happen, but like all this riling up is just gonna get these old white racists like really itchy trigger fingers. And like I saw a picture of like a sniper on the roof in Jasper, Alabama, like just with a he had a it was a civilian dude. He had a spotter. I was like, dude, are you really that concerned about some store like where like two people are going to protest in Jasper? Like, calm the fuck down.
Brick throwing from 600 yards.
I mean, it's like it's either absolute performance art of like because they want to be able to honestly say like I had to, strap up and go to the roof and protect my building, or it is legitimately sitting up there waiting to fulfill the fantasy of shooting a looter. And we all know what looter means in this scenario. Like, fuck these people that are doing that. Fuck you. Fuck your store. Shit's replaceable. We don't want your fucking racist shit anyway. Like, no.
Egg, do you see that? Like, we've all been the protest. Well, except Kate because she's not in Montgomery. But like, we've all been to Montgomery protests, and they tend to be like really, not like they tend to be boring, and they tend to be
bland, no turnout, 20 people.
And yeah, and about a prayer and a lot of like, let's hold hands and kumbaya stuff. But like all this stuff feels different. Like it feels like it's something has finally boiled to the surface. But like we stuff out of major cities, but like is the attitude like different in Montgomery? Is it getting different? Are people like showing up now and doing stuff? Like does change seem like it's possible now, it seems like?
It's hard to say. Right now in Montgomery, you have the normal people that we've grown accustomed to that does the protests, that comes out to do the sit-ins and all of that, and it looks rehearsed, and it's basically in the bubble, and it doesn't seem effective at times, and that's the sad thing. And right now, it was maybe about 200 people downtown, give or take, the people coming back and forth, and that's pretty decent for Montgomery protests downtown, The only thing is most of the people in Montgomery that's in these neighborhoods, they don't give a shit about a protest. They're angry. They just want to see something done. They don't care what it is, and they're just looking for direction. This is the first time I've seen Montgomery hopeless. It's been other times where things that have happened and people get upset and we march or we rally, we try to fight for whatever the fuck it is, but everybody usually goes home. But what I've seen tonight in the last really 2 to 3 months is hopelessness. People are, it's almost like facing your own mortality. Like you don't have everything secure. If your job stops right now, how do you survive? A lot of people have had to ask themselves that question. If the grocery store shuts down, how the fuck will we eat? If we can't get any water from our tap, where do we find water? Do we know how to clean water? How do we protect ourselves? How do we protect our children or our families? Like, these are questions that's going through everybody's mind, and the younger generation here has almost like had enough of all the shit, and they're like, fuck it, nothing can be fixed no matter who does it. Everybody say they can fix it, but nobody ever does, so let's just tear everything down. That's what I'm getting from the people that I've seen.
Because it seems like we all know, like all of us that live in Montgomery just know that it's just been hardship after hardship after hardship. The West Side, predominantly black and poor, just keeps getting worse, while the East Side keeps growing and is rich and white and prosperous. And there is a very strict divide economically and racially in Montgomery, and it just seems to be getting worse. I remember my friend Brandon from college. He graduated from Jeff Davis, and he called it the decay. It was like on the west side of town, it was just the decay, and it kept growing. And he was like, I fear for my people, and I'm saddened, and like I got to get out of here because it just seems like it just keeps growing. And one thing that one thing you notice about Montgomery is that the city council won't let any payday loan shops or anything like that on the east side, but they'll let them flourish on the west side. It's like they'll let every liquor store and payday loan place flourish on the west side, but God forbid a black business wants to open up on the east side, a race war breaks out in city council like it did when Looking Good tried to open up on the east side. And it's just that old white money is still keeping Montgomery a shit place to live because it sucks. Like we see it every day, and we see it with a number of business owners that would just rather let their properties go to shit than sell them to someone who actually wants to make a difference. And I see it and I feel what you're saying. Just like it seems like it's just Montgomery's just fucking hopeless.
If I can add on to, like, you guys are talking about like the like recent protest experience in Montgomery being relatively peaceful and relatively performative. Like, we've definitely had a lot of the same issues through the last several years, and definitely within the last week in Memphis. And, you know, coming from like my academic historical, you know, mindset, I've been really trying to like reflect in this last week on like why, you know, Montgomery, Birmingham, Memphis, Little Rock, Jackson, Mississippi, like, yeah, there's actions happening, but they're not on the scale that they are in major cities in the Midwest and the Northeast and on the West Coast. And what I had come up with, and like anyone who wants to chime in on this, is there an aspect to that in these places, while they've all had their own struggles and like, you know, Black communities across the country have suffered equally, but, you know, particularly, you know, within the last 70 years, like our cities, Southern metropolises, have experienced a very, very different narrative of protest, of civil rights protest and police retaliation on those civil rights protests. And like people who were in that are still alive and in our communities. So like, do you all think that has any impact on like that different dynamic that we're seeing in a lot of Southern cities?
I feel like maybe it makes people less willing to, I don't know. I don't know.
I think it affects people psychologically. It's always that thing in the back of your mind that you know that people got bit by dogs. They shot people. They beat people's ass. You know, like, we know that here in the South. We grow up with that. They beat that shit into our brains constantly. So when it comes
and
to
we're occupying those physical spaces that those specific things happened in. We're literally on those same street corners.
Right. So that psychological trauma carries through generations. Like, we wasn't there on Bloody Sunday, but my grandparents were. You know, that trauma is passed down. You know, and people really feel that. Plus, I also see that um, years ago, these places were more progressive. There was a slightly more progressive, and they had a different political atmosphere at the time than they do now. And like with that being said, and you found those people that were more progressive, they fought back. They had a bus boycott. They did all these things, but once you do those things, you should prepare for retaliation. So over the last 50 years, it's been retaliation. It's almost to drill it in our minds not to step across a certain line. So in the South, every protest I've seen is uh, pretty much docile. It, to me, it doesn't seem effective because you say no justice, no peace, but we're going to walk in the single file line down the street. We're going to turn a block. You know, it's too.
Eric, would you say that there's now, it seems like back in the day, there's a lot of good grassroots organizing, that there's a lot of people that came together and organized these protests, the bus boycott, as you mentioned. Do you feel that there's no organization? It seems like you have one or two people that say, hey, let's meet up here and do whatever, but a calculated, organized effort, do you feel that that has kind of gone to the wayside?
Yes, and the presence of that organization, because we do have like fly by night organizations. You know, they'll come in and they're gone in a week or they're gone in a month, but the mainstay organizations that we know that we could count on, like it's hard to count those on your hand. You know, I think that is what's missing because we're too reactionary. Like in the downtime when nothing is fucking happening, that is the time where we should be planning and actually discussing these things and talking about the possibility of this stuff even happening. But we don't do that at all. We just wait for the shit to pop off and we kind of scramble up here and there. And that's been a major problem. That and a lot of us are not politically educated.
What steps could everybody be doing as a community to make sure that the people who are hurt the most have access to that information, and are like how can people advocate for themselves and self-educate?
That may be the $1 million question because here in Montgomery, you almost have to meet everybody where they are currently in life and even intellectually. Um, and it's hard to use a almost like a cookie cutter mold to reach a lot of these people. Is going to be on a case by case basis. But I think if there was a constant push for educating or keeping people up to date with what's going on and keeping them constantly engaged, like that would be fucking helpful instead of just hearing from people when things go to shit.
Is Have you heard anything? Are there any going to be any more protests or rallies? Have you heard anything about anything coming up later on this week? Because I got people hitting me up now asking, like, is there anything that people can do to help? Like, have you heard of anything?
From what I'm hearing, this is supposed to go on for the rest of the week, like every day. So I don't know the location. They haven't shared that yet, but as soon as I do know, I can share that with like-minded people.
Yeah, please do, because we got a lot of people asking. Um, does anyone else have any more questions about farming or what's going on or anything like that? I know it's getting late. Tyler had to sign off because his daughter's awake. But does anyone have any final thoughts, any final words, any more questions for Eric?
No, I mean that is just, I think you've provided like a lot to chew on on all aspects of, just like there's definitely a parallel between the kind of like self-advocacy that you're talking about, like within activism and inside of the movement is, goes hand in hand with the self-advocacy that you're doing like in the community farming. And that should just be acknowledged, and because it's beautiful. Absolutely, it's good, it's inherently good, and so thank you for that.
Well, thank you, Kate.
I think you're doing great, Eric. I would definitely send me information that I could post in the show notes on the page if anyone local wants to get up with you to help out at the farm, for sure.
Yeah, and hopefully we can all get down there. I mean, me personally, I don't know shit about farming, so that would be interesting. But we should all make a day
I'm
of it.
trying to be country strong.
Yeah, no, that's not. Mm-mm.
No, you're not. No, you're not.
No.
Yeah, plug your stuff. Like, where can they find you? Where can they find the farm? Like, how can people get in touch with you so they can come volunteer or donate? Like, get folks in touch with you.
Yeah, so if you want to reach us, the name of the farm is Zykush Apothecary and Herbal Sanctuary. We're located on Narrow Lane Road. We're right here in the middle of Montgomery. You can find us on Instagram or Facebook. Just type in Xikush, Zykush.
Hell yeah.
Right on. Thank you.
All right,
Guys,
y'all.
thanks for inviting me. It was cool talking to you guys. Bring me back on the show. Let's talk about something else.
Hell yeah.
Nice
Eric,
to meet you. We'll make it like happier next.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Eric, can you just stay on for like after we start recording? Can you just stay on for just like a few more seconds? I just have like some specific questions I want to ask you while we're not recording, because I got a lot. I got people blowing up my phone about stuff going on, so I just want to ask you some quick questions real quick after we're done.
Okay, I'll try to give you some answers.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, y'all. At Dixieland, the proletariat, we believe the South will rise again, but this time for the right reasons. Those being worker-owned means of production, decolonization, and self-determination for all oppressed peoples. We are coming to you from the heart of Dixie, Montgomery, Alabama, and Memphis, Tennessee. We'd also like to recognize a recording on occupied land that rightfully belongs to the Muskogee, the Chickasaw, and their people. Thank you again, Eric, for coming on. Everyone, please be safe. And Tyler says, good Lord, reeling in the creek, don't rise. See y'all next time.